fair, and they expect around 800 people.
So what's this do?
This is the old schoolhouse that was in use here. So
Yeah, I would like to see a little bit of
The paint that I selected looked more like whitewash. There's streaks in it and sort of a mixture of colors kind of thing.
they wanted it pristine. Okay.
No, Rob was saying he was white.
Okay, so to me, it's just, yeah, I would like to see a little bit of
The paint that I selected looked more like whitewash. There's streaks in it and sort of a mixture of colors kind of thing.
they wanted it pristine. Okay.
No, Rob was saying he was white.
Okay, so to me, it's just, yeah, I would like to see a little bit of
The paint that I selected looked more like whitewash. There's streaks in it and sort of a mixture of colors kind of thing.
they wanted it pristine. Okay.
No, Rob was saying he was white.
Okay, so to me, it's just,
So if you want to cross it, just it's mine to use on the
Okay.
counter.
Okay.
We'll get it eventually. So I'm not back over
Did
there.
anybody enter this contest?
Not yet.
Not one person, that is hilarious. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Wasn't that exciting, I guess. What we could have done is put that right next to the movie where it's playing,
Yeah.
and people who are paying attention could have just done it for the
beautiful
heck of
it is
it,
driving up here.
just to get somebody that,
I mean,
I didn't know.
all the
maybe
homes
there's
sit
so
way
many
back,
things going
open
on, lots of
fields.
tables in there, and I just
Yeah.
kinda didn't want to.
Yeah,
They've
actually,
just
should
shipped
buy a house.
Yeah, yeah.
Sell the ones that's what you need to do. Yeah, I mean, Old Town, I'm getting tired. I keep raising everything, the fees. And, so when did he, Stanley, when did he, Uncle Charlie leave?
I would have to say that had to be the early 50s.
Early 50s.
I think he died in 57. I think he died the same year as our grandfather. In 57.
All right. Because I forgot my history.
Well, Aunt Lizzie died after our grandfather, didn't he?
Right. I think all three of them, I think, died in 57, but I'm not sure about that.
Well, I was thinking grandfather died in '56 because Aunt Lizzie wasn't told, and she said, "How come you all didn't tell me that my brother died?" And because she died the day of the space age, when Russia launched their first Sputnik, and she always said that God would never allow a man to go into space, and she died the day of the space age began, when Russia launched their first Sputnik, and so.
Supposed to be.
This joke probably lost us.
Yeah, last couple of days.
I remember my father said that when he was a kid that they used to find mini balls when they would plow every spring, but he never thought to keep them because he said they're so plentiful that there was no reason to keep something like that.
$1.
What? Just $1?
Can you believe it?
Some of them, I think these have fallen off. Some
Yeah,
because of the
they come
weather.
unstuck all the time.
Any times?
Yeah, there will be some. I
Yep,
imagine.
they will be fine.
I didn't remember that you had a spoiler on the back.
I do.
Yeah, well, okay, your car then.
See that vehicle right there?
Most of the capital crimes that were judged here and there were executions here would involve slaves. Most of the time, if you had someone white who gone through that same thing for murder or what have you, they would actually put them in irons and take them down to the railhead. Put them on a train and take them to Richmond, or someplace, someplace that had a maximum security facility. And that's where they would go. So Richmond, most often, is where they would go.
And the glass in the windows, is that the old glass restored, or is it the newer glass?
Whenever possible, we use rolled glass,
Okay.
but you can still get rolled glass today. A lot of people don't realize that. But the wavy glass,
Yeah,
you
right.
can still get that today. There are places that make it for restoration.
Oh.
And so you can still get that today. Whenever possible, we use rolled glass. So you come in and think, whoa, they actually have the original piece. Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. But it at least looks exactly like that.
How long did it take for glass to become rippled like that due to gravity? In other words, I understand glass is considered a liquid.
Yeah.
And
Actually, the way this is, the rolled glass is actually blown out into a sheet, and then there's a number of rollers that go through.
Oh,
It
okay.
causes that wave.
oh, I see. Okay.
Whereas today, the way that glass is made,
Yeah.
it's very
Right.
smooth because
Yeah.
of the process
Right.
that we have to make glass today.
But
Then the glass was actually molten and would go through a series of rollers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So it doesn't actually
So it.
wave over time. It was that way from the start.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking it was that somebody had read somewhere that with age the glass would just become heavier and thicker at the bottom
It might get
than
worse,
at the top.
but it has that wave
Yeah. Right.
from the start.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So how long was the jail made as a private residence? Was this?
I don't know that for certain, but I can tell you that a fellow is just about to give a talk over in the schoolhouse that lived.
Yeah, because my uncle lived there.
Who's your uncle?
Charlie Diehl,
Okay.
and his wife Polly Hedrick, I believe, was her
The guy
name.
that's talking is Morgan Breed.
Oh,
You know
okay. This name's familiar. Yeah,
Well,
right.
he's talking, and he actually lived in the jail.
Oh, okay.
And it was a private residence for a while, so he would probably be able to answer
Yeah,
that
right.
question for you.
Right. Okay. Great. Thanks.
You're welcome. Like, he's going to start in about 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Go in? This is the door we go in?
I think so. That's the way I went. Because see, I didn't know where it was going to be. It was in the courthouse.
How much money you have if you do?
You know, I work for.
I know, that's why I said I'll let you do it.
Stuff in it. We might be eating some wool here.
Oh, okay. I do that all the time.
Haven't heard anything, I suppose. It is a really weird texture, isn't it?
Yeah. That might be the cold. Yeah, he was in the schoolhouse chatting over there, so. Both these doors. Would you like this?
About the ones that are upstairs.
Yep. And it'd be an arm break door on the inside. So it'd be like a door. I'm sorry. We're actually getting it made right now. Yeah. That's why we left these open. So you would have this door and then the iron grate door. That way in the morning, the jailer comes in to give you your breakfast. He opens this door. You can't bull rush him. You have the iron grate door to hold you in place. And he can pass food in free. These two rooms held more serious criminals. The less serious were upstairs. So. Keep in mind when you're in this room, we have glass in here now, but that was not, there was no glass in that window. And there's no heat in there, so.
What happened to the bars that would have been on the windows?
Well, the only ones that remained are upstairs. Those are the original ones up there. If you go upstairs to those two, those are original.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So would they also have just the ones upstairs too?
Yeah.
They have both doors?
On the cells on this side. On the cells on that side, that's a debtor cell. The debtor cells are for people that were in debt. You had to come in, they would put you in prison if you owed money. They would let you travel freely for the day. So they didn't really, you weren't a flight risk. These people here are flight risks. That's why it was serious.
The left side, that doesn't.
Right.
Would be double.
The one out fireplace would be criminals. The one with the fireplace is the debtors. Debtors got a fireplace.
And then that light door.
This door, yes. Yeah. This kind of door will be on every door. But the debtors wouldn't have the
It's not fresh paint.
Yeah.
The bars were taken out when it became the
This is all redone.
courthouse. They ripped all the bars out and enlarged all the But these two didn't get changed because they're both an addition.
Maybe that's supposed to make it, that's how it was.
So we took all that off.
We have a treasure on the
They
wall.
were still there.
Great. Great.
And we used those to design, these are all new. The ones here, we designed these based
Right.
on those.
And what's the significance of this cell?
This cell, James Clark, who was Commonwealth Attorney for a while for Prince William County, was murdered in this room. He was in prison for kidnapping a young lady from Manassas. And he hides, and the jailer is friends with the brother of the young lady. The door was left unlocked. And this door was left unlocked. Iron grate door was left locked, and he comes in and shoots him. He dies upstairs, but he's shot.
When I came to spend the night with the slave dwelling project, we slept in that room. And it was,
I don't recognize you from seeing that. Looks a little different now, doesn't it?
it looks gorgeous. This is a
How many
treasure.
inmates would they put in a cell?
It all depends how busy they are. They would have no problem putting 3 or 4. They would not mix men and women. They usually didn't mix races, but they would if they had to. Some men would have their own place, men would have their own cell. Usually African Americans had their own cell. But if it's getting busy, they're gonna fill it. Keep in mind, this is just a holding jail. So if court's only held about 3 times a year, okay? So that's never really held in winter time because it's too cold and the roads are too muddy. So if you get arrested in November, you may have to be in here until March. But if you got sentenced to prison, you go to Richmond. Nowadays, counties have jails. But back then, if you were sentenced to jail, you were sent to Richmond.
So where?
Richmond.
Oh, to Richmond.
State
Okay.
penitentiary was in Richmond.
Oh, okay.
There's just one penitentiary in all of the state. That was
Okay.
in Richmond.
So there was nothing less than a year.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so people weren't in this one for very long.
Yeah.
Although if you got arrested in October or November,
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, because that's
Yeah.
where you're gonna spend. It depends what you did too. I mean,
Sure.
I'm talking, these 2 cells are your serious criminals. Yeah, so.
When was the last ghost appearance?
For me, never. I've actually worked here 12 years, never seen anything. Different people have different opinions on
Yeah.
that. We've
I know.
had some people, volunteers here.
PBS did a documentary a few years ago.
Yeah. We've had some volunteers have experiences, but not staff.
Yeah.
Not yet.
I see. Okay.
So, but you know, guy was murdered in there, so
Yeah.
there was something.
And this was the office?
Yes. Or living space. So both these rooms were reserved to the jailer. So however he wanted to use it. Probably the office was that room over there because that door led to the courthouse. This is probably a living space because he could come in and feed the inmates and such. Or she too. Actually, we have a couple instances where the jailer's wife does all the work. Yeah. So it's all up to who. And not every jailer lived here. Some lived in town and used it as an office. Not all of them lived here. You could. It was available to you if you wanted it.
I'm very glad we have this in our backyard. I'm very glad.
You live nearby?
Yeah, I live in Manassas,
Oh,
just
great.
down, Lucasville, but that it's so taken care of.
Well, thank you.
I
And
am
we're
so glad to see this.
And we still have an exhibit to put in here, so it's
Yay.
going to get even better.
Okay, good.
Come on in.
Thank you.
Thank you. One of the cells, there's 6 cells in the building. 2 here.
So, and then this is now bring back to the museum. So you have originally the jail, then it's a dorm, then it's a front house, then it's an office space, and now it's a museum. So we've seen a lot of different uses and changes with this building. And so this is one of the reasons why, like those 2 floors right there in these 2 rooms, original-ish boards probably from the time period of dorm and of space. And then what's also fortunate is those 2 iron windows in the back rooms. Those are original because later on they actually put an addition in the back of this building. They covered those 2 windows up so they're no longer exterior windows. All the other exterior windows, they take those iron bars out because who wants to go to a school with iron bars? Or who wants to live in an iron bar office or house? But fortunately for us, they take out that addition at some point, and we have those original 1820s windows. Yeah, which is fantastic, which we are really lucky to have. Because everything else, this building sees substantial alteration because the staircase that we have right now, we put back, but when this was a house and an office, the stairs were actually right here. You come in through the front, and you go almost immediately up the stairs to the second story. So you don't have to go through that really tight, really winding staircase. But we put that back just because this would have been the staircase the jailer and roommates would have used. And then also just how it came up. Getting access to that room, that cell room right there, was kind of wonky. You like go up and go in immediately, so it's kind of weird. So we made the decision to put the stairs back to the room in the 19th century.
Why is this room called the Voices Room?
So we have that one called the Voices Room because we'll have 2 furnished rooms, a debtor cell furnished and a dorm furnished here. That's going to be an interpretive room for the African American experience in Prince William County, especially in the 19th century legal system. We call this the Voices Room because we're going to have audio, like where the outlets are, we'll have audio sections of inmates who are here. So I'll tell you like why they're in prison here. So like abolitionists, we have abolitionists who are in jail. Civil War soldiers who are in prison here. Some of the women who are thrown in jail here, they'll tell you their crimes. African American crimes that are committed or what the county views as crimes and throwing them in jail for. And then also we'll have one in that room talking about mental illness, because even though the state of Virginia has 2 asylums in Stanton and Williamsburg, they have very limited beds. And the process to get sent there would be first, you'd have a couple of doctors from the county look at you, view you that you need to go to this asylum, but then you'd be brought to the county jail and put in one of the cells while an extra bed opened up. So you would have people in this building who are not charged with a crime. All they are is just waiting for a bed to open up in one of those asylums. So we're just trying to tell some more of the stories of some of the inmates who are here.
The renovation that we're seeing here, is there a price tag on that right now?
I haven't taken a look at like everything that's been up, but it's been about 6-7 years. But it's I don't know if it's that much, it might be about $1 million. Because we have rebuilt the wall, more or less this interior, we have got the almost the entire interior. And then we have to repoint all the brick walls more or less. We put a new concrete foundation on this building. And then also, yeah. So, we also to save money, so like the boards in that cell, and the boards downstairs, and then also you have here, we actually cut. So we actually got.
He's at the top floor, he's up here for
They didn't move to here. We cured them for a few years, and we're playing our own board. So also looking for grants to help fund some of this. So we're looking for other resources. You're welcome.
Well, I do have so much room in here.
When you look about this, I mean, this is a very spacious building.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know why. And what also kind of bugs me, if you notice this, these windows aren't aligned.
Yeah.
They're slightly
There's some of
underlined.
that annoys me.
Proceeded to the back of the day when they were stick building, and that was pretty strange.
I always like this, so you can see this. This is a government lowest contracting bidded out company. So they're not caring if these are completely aligned. If you look at the brick walls downstairs, it's not nice and level. So this is not a nicely constructed building like you'd be building a house. It's strong, you can't get out of this, but they're not making it look pretty.
Right.
So they're trying to make this as
Well, back then they didn't have lasers and all that.
well, they could do pretty straight, but they're not going to go for the other effort to redo it. So.
For these, for the hinges.
Yeah. So this is some of the original frames. We have some of the original frames. This goes from a jail to a dorm to a house and to an office space and now a museum. And so when the dorm came in, they wanted to reuse the original frames. These are the hinges for big, great iron doors. And so what they did is they just cut these out. So they take the iron door out and just throw it away. So that's why it's a lot bigger, these cuts, because they just cut everything out to throw it out. But that's for the hinges.
The cell door downstairs, is that similar to what they would have had?
Yes. We are very fortunate that we have a couple of original jails from this time period standing in Virginia. And there's a great one in Pulaski County, 1823, so it's about the same year as this. Really hasn't been touched. They actually have 3 doors. So they have, and we based the door downstairs off of that. They have like that solid wood door. They have that grate door, the iron grate door, and then there'd be another interior wooden door. We don't know if that was the same situation they have here. So for downstairs, we're going to do that one outside oak door that you saw, and then an iron grate door. So we just don't know if there's any evidence of that interior 3rd door. But we do know that other jails in Virginia from this time period have 3 doors per cell. But unfortunately, we just don't know.
Do they still have the iron door on that one?
They do. Yes. It needs some work to be stabilized, but it is almost pristine.
Oh.
It's really cool. And so, like, for our stairs, we kind of based our. We know that the stairs are there historically.
Pulaski.
Yeah, Pulaski. So I'm actually talking about Pulaski.
Yeah.
And so we noticed that there was in that Pulaski there was a little closet door underneath the stairs, and so we have no evidence of it being here. But because it's from the same time period in Virginia, we replicated that there too. And we're also looking at other jails in like Palmyra, Goochland County, the northern neck. So we're trying to figure out, and there's actually surprisingly a lot of jails from the 1800s still. So we're able to try and base all these restoration efforts, if not on primary documents about this particular jail, at least other buildings from the same time period in the state of Virginia.
So it was a model in some respects.
Yeah. And what's kind of, I still need to do a little bit more research. If the state of Virginia passes a law, what's kind of weird is all these jails are built in like the 1820s, 1830s. So it seems like all of a sudden these jails are all outdated, and all the counties build new jails, and they're very similar together. I mean, it's not state specific, specified which floor plan you have to use, but it seems like there is a huge boom in jail construction in Virginia in the 1820s. So that I just can't figure out why.
Was there an increase in population during that time frame or anything?
Everyone's actually moving out west. Prince William County, our population starts to decrease. So we hit a high mark at around 1800, and then until like 1920, slowly kept losing population. And then in the 60s, we were right back up. But for a long, long time, everyone's leaving Prince William because right after the American Revolution, the soils are getting extinguished because of tobacco. Then you're having more and more kids. You're trying to subdivide your farms into smaller and smaller sections. You just can't support people off those smaller farms. And then finally, land is getting a lot cheaper out in West Virginia, out in Kentucky, out in Missouri. So people are just going out and finding better.
In fact, some places it was given away, weren't they?
Yep. So like Virginia soldiers from the American Revolution got free land in Ohio. So you have this continual exodus of Virginians going out. I mean, this is why there's really cool, Brentsville, Kentucky. No one understands, but there was at one point a Brentsville, Kentucky. And then I found evidence of a Brentsville, Alabama. So you have people from Brentsville moving out and keeping the name. But this is the only Brentsville that's still in existence. Everything else is a street name or an intersection post, but this we actually have a little village still.
I understand one of the incentives for moving westward was the fact that the soil had been depleted from the essential minerals from over too many crops and not replenishing the ingredients to maintain the soil. So the soil became so poor that first they noticed the cows and horses would start dying. And then the babies would start would have a lot of miscarriages and stillbirths, and because of the poor nutrition. And so they kept moving westward for healthier soil. And every few years they'd repeat this situation. The soil would become depleted to the point where they could no longer sustain life, and they kept moving westward. From then on.
Yeah, they really weren't the great stewards. And then also, during the same time period, you really have the explosion of the growth of the Deep South, cotton and sugarcane. Yeah. And so if you're a really ambitious, more or less young person, you're typically not staying in Virginia. Even in the like the more prosperous Eastern Shore at some points, or the Piedmont area, if you didn't inherit a large farm, everyone's moving out. And what's interesting is by the Civil War, you have a lot of young Virginians who are like really annoyed at the political elite in Richmond because they're saying Virginia's prime is behind us. I mean, this is a dying state. At one point, we were the largest state in the Union. We produced how many presidents? Now it's 1850, 1860. Yeah. We're looked at as like backwards producing farms and backwards people, and what happened to Virginia? Yeah. And so there's that big tug and pull of how Virginia should go. Should we do more industrial sections like appearing down in Richmond, or should we try to do more different farming techniques? It's not really until the 1960s when Washington, D.C. and the suburbs start with the boom that Prince William finally gets out of that almost 150-year-old rut and starts to revitalize.
Well, I had heard that right after the Civil War, the economy was in such bad shape that a lot of people left as well.
It could, it really, the Civil War is hard to gauge because we have in town living in 1860. By 1870, he's moved to Warrenton. But there's a guy named Eppa Hutton who is the Commonwealth Attorney. During the Civil War, he is a Confederate general. He's actually wounded at Pickett's Charge. His house at the intersection of Bristow Road and Old Church Road is completely demolished during the Civil War. So he loses everything. Between 1860 and 1870, that's a 10-year time period, with the Civil War in between, he actually doubles his wealth. Same thing with Liberia, it's in the city of Manassas off Manassas Avenue. The Weirs, who are in there, they're the largest slave owners in Prince William County. They have about 82 slaves. Emancipation wipes out most of their wealth, but between 1860 and 1870, they don't double their wealth, but they increase it by like another 25%. So it seems like if you were wealthy before the war, you still had just enough reserve capital that you could go in and buy really cheap land off your former farmers. So what's happening is if you were wealthy before the war, you're still wealthy after the war. But if you were just a regular farmer and you lose everything, it's really hard to recover from that. And then there's a couple of different issues. You have, like for the Deep South, they try to start growing cotton again. But during the war, all the cotton production for the world gets shifted to India and Egypt. And so there's just not that huge demand for cotton anymore for the American South. And then they do sharecropping, which is a very ineffective way to grow cotton. And the same thing with up here is wheat and corn are the main produce is being raised in Prince William. And it's still doing pretty well, but just not that high rate as it was before the war. So you can still survive, but you're just not going to have that prosperity. By the Civil War, I don't know how prosperous the Civil War is, or Prince William is. You have to keep this all with a grain of salt. A lot of federal soldiers marching through the area. They always write like how decrepit everything looks. One soldier marching through Dumfries, Virginia said it looked like it was built at the time that Jesus was alive. And this is like 1840s, or 1740s, so it's just over 100 years old, but he thinks it's like 2,000 years old. A lot of these soldiers coming through, they just think all these Virginia farms are just falling apart. Even in 1861, really before the war really starts gearing up. So some places in Virginia are really prosperous, some places aren't. And so that continues after the war. Places usually that are doing pretty well, like Norfolk with that shipping, they are able to recover pretty fast. Alexandria's able to recover pretty fast. But some of the more rural areas, like Culpeper, it takes a while for them to get back going. And Stafford, I think, doesn't get back up running until about 8 years after the war. So it takes a long, long time.
Now, in the early 1800s, was Stafford and Prince William one county?
All right,
or how does that work?
So back in the 1600s, this was all part of northern Virginia, the northern neck land grant. So Richmond County, King George County, Stafford County were all one big county. And this was known as the Brenttown Tract, which is how we get the name Brentsville, is because this is actually a land grant to a couple gentlemen in England who stay in London, and they decide, we are getting really good farms on the Potomac River. The west river you go, there's some hostile Native Americans. So the King of England gives them this land grant saying, all right, you get all this land, you can do it, but if you can you settle them with Catholics as a buffer? So they try to do it with settling Catholics and they decide, we're not going to prefer denominations. So anyone who can live there can live there. So Prince William was once part of Stafford, but then we broke away. And when we broke away, Prince William County was Fairfax, Loudoun, and Fauquier.
Okay.
In addition to us. And then, so our first county seat is in where the Route 1 bridge crosses the Occoquan River. That's the first county seat because that's where a central location, because you have Fairfax, Fauquier, and Prince William all part of one county. Fairfax breaks off.
And most of the population was over that way.
Yeah, it's over by the river.
Yeah.
Fairfax breaks off. All right, we need to move the county seat. The county seat's moved to what is now in the middle of Marine Corps Base Quantico. That's where it is until about the 1740s. Fauquier decides to break off, so they break off. And so now we just have what is now Prince William County. The county seat moves to Dumfries, where it is until 1820, and it's moved here, and then it's moved in 1893 to Manassas, where it is today. So at one point, Prince William was a pretty large county.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
There's an old building right near the courthouse. Actually, between the old courthouse
Everybody's getting ready to leave.
and the current courthouse. It's boarded up. What is that building?
That is the bank house. My office actually.
Thank you for everything. It's okay on Facebook Live, the whole thing, it's online now.
Oh, yeah, that was like watching.
The question was, is that accessible access back?
Yes, because I posted it. Yeah.
No, so you have to send me a link to it, so because I'm not on Facebook.
I can sign in and show it.
Yeah, I can
Anything's possible. All I know is it takes a lot longer than 15 minutes.